vice premier in China had coerced her into having sexual relationships with him. She's then disappeared. Then, this week, an email was published by Chinese state television claiming to be from Peng. But many people do not believe the email is from her. World tennis authorities are insisting that she be allowed to speak publicly. We go now to Hong Kong. Alkan is from Amnesty International China. Alkan, good day to you, and thank you very much indeed for your time. This is a really incredible, a really important story. The original claims made by Peng have now been removed from social media in China. They're very serious. What do we know about where she is, about what's happened to her?
Thanks for having me, Stephen. This is a question the world has been asking to the Chinese government. Where is Peng Shiua? Unfortunately, right now we don't know the answer, and the Chinese government, the burden of proof is on the Chinese government. They need to demonstrate the evidence that she's safe and she has freedom of movement and speech.
There is this email that the Chinese state broadcaster says comes from her. Do you believe it? It seems many people don't believe it.
Unfortunately, the Chinese government has a track record of fabricating statements and sometimes making people give false testimonies and statements. Sometimes some of these testaments are televised. Whenever people go missing in China and people start asking questions, the Chinese government, after some time, find a way to make these people give some sort of statement saying that they are okay, everything is fine, and there's nothing to worry about. So there are real concerns that this might be the case when we saw the email that was published by the CGTN, which is a state-run media output.
I mean, if someone disappears in China, we've seen this happen with someone like Jack Ma, what happens to them? I mean, are they in Chinese government custody?
It is really difficult to speculate in any particular case, but often these people go missing, and some of them are kept under RSDL, which is residential surveillance under a designated location. These people often include human rights defenders, activists, citizen journalists, lawyers, doctors, and sometimes businessmen, as you mentioned. Jack Ma disappeared for months shortly after criticizing the financial regulations. And it is appalling that anyone who dares to speak out in China can disappear and be reprimanded. Peng Shiua's disappearance is not the first one, and sadly won't be the last one. Whoever raises their voice, breaks the silence, and speaks truth to power often gets reprimanded. And we haven't forgotten about what happened to Dr. Li Wenmia, who warned his colleagues about the emerging COVID-19 virus. And later on, he was told to go to a police station where he was ordered to sign a letter admitting rumor mongering shortly before he passed away. And the world is watching what's happening to Zhang, a citizen journalist and lawyer who went missing last year in May, simply for reporting on the outbreak. Later on, we found out that she had been detained in Shanghai, and later on she was charged with picking quarrels and provoking trouble by the Chinese authorities. Right now, she has been on a hunger strike for months, and according to her family, her health deteriorated so much that she might not make it through the winter. And similarly, Peng Shiua went missing during this around the same time for reporting on the COVID-19 outbreak. And also Fan Bing, a Wuhan writer, he was also taking videos of what was happening in the hospitals, and his whereabouts remain unknown.
So Alkan, if I may, I mean, I think the point is well made. Do people in China know that Peng Shiua has disappeared? I mean, there's such strong censorship in China. I've never been there. I'm not an expert, but my understanding is that there is. Do people in China know what's happened?
I think it's important to note that the Chinese government must protect its people's right to freedom of speech and not reprimand those who speak out. And we see that the Chinese government goes to great lengths to cover up, hide, or downplay any kind of information that might potentially challenge its authority. And Peng Shiua's, as you mentioned earlier, Peng Shiua's social media post was deleted after minutes it was posted, but people took screenshots of it. Right now, her verified social media account is not reachable. But I think the Chinese social media users, they always find ways around these censorship mechanisms. They come up with creative and innovative ways by playing word games. And only by this way they can discuss about sensitive issues like the disappearance of Peng Shiua. And we know that they have been sharing their concerns about this as well.
And other countries, I mean, the United States, I mean, as an example, it may be a silly example, but for example, CNN, which, I mean, some people see as an arm of the United States government, I mean, obviously it's not, but it's been leading with this story. Other countries have been talking about it. World Tennis is talking about it. Does this kind of international pressure work on China?
I think, yes, the Chinese government deeply cares about its international reputation, and I think it's remarkable that other tennis players, the Women's Tennis Association, and they speak out, they come out and share their concerns about Peng Shiua's well-being, and especially considering the fact that they have a lot at stake in terms of sponsorships and upcoming tournaments and various other endorsements in China, which is $1 million, maybe a multi-billion-dollar market for major organizations and corporations.
Alkan Akkad, thank you very much indeed from Amnesty International in China, in Hong Kong. It's an important story. It suggests various dynamics in our world are clashing over this particular story involving a Chinese tennis player.